In this video, we are going to solve multi-step equations. What that means is when you have an equation, there's the variable, more than one operation is happening to this variable right here. So in this equation, we have our variable, and we are first multiplying that variable by -2. We are also adding 10 to that variable. Our goal is to undo both of these operations so that we can isolate our variable and solve for what that variable is equal to. When we are solving for this variable or undoing, removing these operations, we are going to follow PEMDAS backwards. This is undoing that. So the very first thing we're going to do when we have an equation with multiple steps is we are going to undo any addition or subtraction first. So this is where we are going to start. We are going to subtract 10 from both sides of this equation to remove that plus 10 there, but keeping everything equal. 10 minus 10 is going to be 0. So all we're left on the left-hand side on the left-hand side is -2n, and on the right we have 20. From here, we're going to divide both sides of this equation by -2n. Right here, the operation between the -2 and the variable is multiplication. To undo multiplication, we are going to divide. -2 divided by -2 is 1, which is exactly what we want. We want to be left with 1n on the left. 20 divided by -2 is -10. Once we solve the equation, we do want to check. The way that we check is the first thing we're going to do is rewrite the equation that was given to us. Now, we think n is equivalent to -10, so we're going to substitute in -10 for n. And the question is, do these left and right sides equal each other? -2 times -10 is 20. We have our plus 10. And then we can show that the left-hand side does equal the right-hand side, and it checks. Try number 2 on your own and see how you do. Number 2, again, we're trying to isolate this a. I am going to add 14 to both sides so that we can get rid of this -14 right here. It's going to give me 18 equals 3a. Divide by 3 on both sides. And a is going to equal 6. For the check, we think a is equal to 6, so we are going to substitute in. We're going to take out the a, plug in the 6, and then the question is, do the left and right sides equal each other? 3 times 6 is 18 minus 14, which shows that we do check here. Number 3, we have n divided by 3 minus 8 equals -2. And again, we are trying to isolate this variable right here. Order of operations, we need to get rid of the subtraction first. The very first thing that we're going to do is we are going to add 8 to both sides so that we can get rid of that right there. On the left, we have n divided by 3 equals 6. Next thing, we have this division right here. To undo division, we are going to multiply. So if I multiply by 3 on one side, I'm going to multiply by 3 on the other side. N is going to equal 18. We will check this. Here's our check right here. N divided by 3 minus 8 equals -2. Start your check by just rewriting the equation as it was given to you. Now we think n is 18, so I'm going to substitute in 18 right here. And the question is, does the left side equal the right side? 18 divided by 3 is 6, minus 8 is -2, so we check. Try number 4 on your own. Here's the answer. The first thing I did was subtract 5 from both sides. I was left with x divided by 4 equals -4. Once I multiply by 4 on both sides to cancel out that denominator, I get x is equal to -16. And here's my check to show that this is correct. In problem number 5, the big difference here is that we have a negative sign out here, but I'm going to show you how everything when solving is going to remain the same. The very first thing that we're going to do is we are going to subtract 12 on both sides. We need to get rid of the addition or subtraction first. So I still have -x divided by 6 on this side equals -19 on the right. From here, I have this division of 6, -6. So I'm going to multiply the left-hand side by -6. That cancels out the negatives, and it also cancels out the numerator and the denominator of 6. So I'm left with x is equal to 114. And then here's the check to show that my answer is indeed 114. For number 6, 2/3 n plus 6 is equal to -12. So the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to subtract 6 on both sides of this equation. I'm going to be left with 2/3 m is equal to -18. Now that we have 2/3 m equals -18, there are two different things that I can do here. So the first thing, 2/3 m equals -18, we can think about this as 2/3 times m, which it is. So we can divide both sides by 2/3. Those 2/3 cancels. And then we end up getting -27. The other thing that we can do, let me rewrite this, 2/3 m equals -18. We can multiply this side by the multiplicative inverse because we know that 2/3 times 3/2 equals 1. That's going to be our goal here. So if we multiply by 3/2 on one side, we can multiply by 3/2 on the other side. This cancels, and we get m is equal to -27. Both strategies do work here, and that is because we know that dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by a reciprocal. So let's look at number 7 a little bit differently here. You really need to think of this numerator right here as a grouping. So when we're thinking about undoing these to solve equations and doing order of operations backwards, you really need to think about this as parentheses, so we're going to do this last. C minus 5, which is grouped together or in parentheses, is going to be divided by 4. So when we're thinking about this order of operations backwards, multiplication or division is going to come right here. So we are going to multiply both sides of this equation by 4. That's going to cancel out these 4's on this side. We're going to get C minus 5 is equal to 12. From here, we can then take and add 5 to both sides to get C is equal to 17. So go ahead and try number 8 on your own. Here's the solution. The first thing that I needed to do was multiply by 3 on both sides, and that is because this right here in the numerator, think of that as grouped, think about that as parentheses there. Your answer ends up being B is equal to 5. For numbers 9 and 10, I want to revisit one more time PEMDAS. When you're solving equations, you are undoing all of these operations. So in number 9 right here, you're first going to start with undoing, adding, and subtracting first. We have this adding 2 right here. Then you're going to work on multiplication and division. Exponents, there aren't any exponents here. And last but not least, you have this grouping, this parentheses. The parentheses are not there, but you have to understand that they are there because of this grouping right here. So try 9 and 10. See how you do. Here's what we have for answers here. So I first subtracted 2 from both sides. Then I multiplied by 12 on both sides to get my answer of r equals -1. For number 10, subtracted 7 from both sides. From there, multiplied by 3 on both sides. Subtracted 15 on both sides, and I was this minus sign or negative is still here, so I was left with -a equals -42. So to get positive a, I just divided both sides by -1, and a equals 42. Okay, now let's practice some word problems. Gotta get my color. Okay, twice a number. So you're gonna let x equal your number, your unknown in the situation. Twice that is going to be 2x plus 4 equals 6. Then you can solve from there. X equals 1. I always say if the problem is in words, then your answer has to be in words. So you can just write the number is 1. For number 12, it's a little trickier. 7 less than 4 times a number. So you're going to let x equal your number. Now when it says 7 less than, this is a turnaround word. What that means is if I said 5 less than 8. You would not, in your head, do 5 minus 8. You would turn that around, and in your head you would say 8 minus 5 is 3. So 5 less than 8 is 3. So you have to do the same thing when you're thinking about variables. 7 less than 4 times a number. So 4 times your number, 7 less than that is going to be 13. So here's my answer when I solve x equals 5. The number is 5.